Greetings and salutations, my fellow gamers. My name is AFarCryAway, and today we're going to be talking about the Killing Floor 2 Summer Opt-in Beta Preview Branch. Alright, so just so you guys know ahead of time, this is more of like an impressions kind of video. I've only played one match solo and one match in co-op on the new Airship map. I haven't really touched Lockdown yet because I've already played Lockdown a few times before it even came out in the game, but I will be going back and seeing if there's, any kind of differences in it with the full released version. So as you guys know, of course, there's two new maps, one that has objective survival, which is Airship, and then the other one is Lockdown with just basic survival. And yes, you did hear it correctly, it's called objective survival, so it's not exactly objective mode, but it does share a lot of similarities to the old objective mode. However, just keep in mind that you really only have to do the objectives to earn extra dosh or go towards the seasonal event. The seasonal event, of course, is being able to unlock the Steampunk Mrs. and Mr. Foster outfits, and they look really good, so it's worth doing. And the challenges themselves are actually not too difficult. I know you can do them on, single player or co-op. However, I would say co-op would make it possibly a little bit easier to micromanage, but it's definitely possible to do so on solo. All the objectives are you run to certain, little panels on the airship, and you have to weld them. There's also a part where you have to hold off in like a greenhouse that's on board the airship, where you have to watch two entranceways and not let any Zeds inside, and if any get inside, it stops this water from pouring, and then you have to go back and hit a lever so that the water will start pouring again. And that's really actually probably the most fun part of this objective mode, because it's just kind of a new spin on the holdout mechanic. So of course, they label these two new objective types as Weld and Repair and Operate and Control. And as you guys all know, there are 4 new weapons in this update, and I have to just go right out and say I think the M99 AMR is my personal favorite weapon that's been added for a few reasons. One reason being it's pretty damn powerful. Maybe not as powerful as you would think it would be, which is kind of a shame. But I will say, it's kind of more fun to use just because you get more ammunition for it, and it's a little bit cheaper than you might think it would be. And it does have the headshot stacking behind it, so it can be a really good, anti-flesh pound weapon if you've built some stacks up. However, some people are saying you're still better off with the railgun, but in my opinion, it's kind of a good thing that these two weapons can coexist at the moment, because it's more of like a preferential thing at this point, and I think that's kind of good, having a choice in that department. I'm sure over time we'll find out one is slightly better than the other, but at the moment they're both pretty much evenly good, although the M99 might be a little bit weaker than the railgun. Next up, we have the Static Strikers for the Berserker perk, and they're really fun to use. They're pretty much everything I could have imagined them being. You just get to punch things in the face, and it's surprising how satisfying it is punching things in the face in Killing Floor 2. The only real issues I've had with the Static Strikers is it feels a little bit inconsistent with what actually stuns enemies and what doesn't. I know the heavy attacks are more likely to stun and all that kind of stuff though, and that stun mechanic is very important and might actually be the reason to use the Static Strikers over some of the other Berserker weapons. But yeah, landing a nice right hook on a Flesh Pound's face is just really satisfying, and I guess if I had one other little quick issue with it, it would be that sometimes it feels a little inconsistent in what hits and what doesn't at what distance. Sometimes it seems like you're hitting them, but you're really not. Sometimes it seems like they shouldn't be within your range, and they are. So it's a little weird to calculate where your actual strikes land, I guess. And next up we have the Doomstick for the support, and the Doomstick is pretty much the hunting shotgun, but better. It's like the shotgun, but if it was like ×2. So essentially, you get the 4 rounds, and you can reload them 2 at a time, so essentially it's just like reloading the double barrel shotgun anyway. You can still do the middle mouse click or the, secondary fire mode, and you will actually be able to fire all 4 of the shots at once. And also a cool little thing is that they've kept it where you can do the double or the quad barrel jump shot. So if you aim it at the ground, use secondary fire and jump, you'll actually get a little bit of extra height on your jump. The only real complaint I have is during that reload, you're pretty exposed. Also, the spread on the Doomstick isn't as wide as I thought it might be. But honestly, the power that's behind each shot is really nice. and having the 4 barrels, it's not this revolutionary thing, but it feels like it has a place in the game, and it's just a really badass weapon. When you get to decapitate a scrake with it, it feels right. And then we have the Airship Survivalist knife, which for some reason I couldn't find. I know, it's a little bit weird. Maybe I'm just stupid and I looked right past it, but I think it's supposed to be a perk knife, or at least that's what I thought. But when I switched to my knife as the Survivalist, I didn't see it, so I was a little bit confused. Then I looked on the weapon scroll on the trader for it, and I didn't see it, so I just was a little bit lost. I do have some friends who told me that they don't like the look of it that much, though, so I don't know. Maybe it's alright, maybe it's not. Well, I guess I'll get back to you guys on that. Also, very important is that they have added the weapon upgrade system, and this makes it where players can use the trader pod to upgrade their weapons to tier 5. It'll boost damage but may incur extra weight, and this can also boost medic dart recharge rate for all the field medic weapons. When I was using the upgrade system, I did notice some significant impact on some of the lower tier weapons, like your tier 1 starter 9mm pistol is a lot better at tier 5 and tier 3 even than tier 1. It almost makes them worth, bringing again instead of having other things. For example, I was playing the sharpshooter rocking the M99, which can take up a lot of weight on its own, not including the upgrades that you can get on top of that, which will weigh it down further. But then you can bring dual 9mm pistols that are upgraded as your backup weapon, and they actually do a pretty good job of keeping you, clean from the common trash enemies. So it's really good for fighting those guys back. Also, they've added the prestige system. I've actually prestiged 3 of my perks so far. It says to reset level 25 perks to 0 for XP bonus, vault dash, and unique icons and weapon skins. So I've upgraded them, or rather I've prestiged the 3 perks. They're all back to level 0, but I have a 30% increased bonus XP, and I get bonus dash vault, I guess, for each one that I've upgraded, or prestiged rather. So I'm kind of curious to see how the Vault Dash thing ties into it, and how much that increases. But as for the XP bonus, I'm pretty sure it's on a per perk basis. I don't know if that stacks. I doubt that the XP bonus stacks. If it did, that would be really cool, but I think it's just going to give you 30% for working that individual perk back up. The new icons are pretty much kind of how they already looked, but they just look slightly cooler, and they're a little bit thicker on the edges. In this update, they were supposed to bring Mrs. Foster back, but she's actually not in the game yet in the beta preview branch, so we're going to have to wait a little bit for her. We're also going to have to wait on those cosmetic and, weapon skin drops and all of that kind of stuff. So, I'll let you guys know when she's in the game. Believe me, I'm going to be playing Mrs. Foster a ton, so I will definitely make a separate video once she's out in the game on her, and maybe do a character synopsis video, and, maybe hear some of the voice lines, or talk about, I don't know, how good or bad she is compared to the Killing Floor 1 version of her, for example. Alright, so this one's pretty big. They've added 3 new enemies. I've talked about this before. It's the new EDAR enemies, and to be honest, they're not as game-changing or game-breaking as I thought they would be. They actually spawn on a pretty rare instance. Like, you'll definitely see 2 or 3 of them every wave, but they really don't encroach upon the gameplay that badly. Now, I haven't played on Hell on Earth or Suicidal against them, but so far it really just seems like they're kind of tankier versions of Clots who can occasionally fire at you from a distance. I know they have different purposes like Trapper, Blaster, and Bomber. I really couldn't tell the difference between the 3 of them at first, but like I said, this is a first impressions thing, so I haven't fought against them enough to really give you guys a good explanation of what they do or what they look like or how they even act. I mean, I've seen a few, I've shot them with the M99, they went down, and that was it. So they didn't really pose much of a threat. And like I said, they do take a little bit to put down in terms of ammunition. But other than that, they're not that tough for me in my experience with them. So I'll have to also get back to you on the EDAR enemies. But so far, I'd like to say they haven't ruined anything, and that's good enough for me. But they're also not exactly like this revolutionary new enemy type yet. And then, like I previously mentioned, during the objective mode, you'll be working towards getting, tickets, items, and also just the objective mode seasonal event. So you'll get the steampunk outfit bundle if you complete all of the different objectives on the airship map. And like I said before, it's just not very challenging. I mean, I guess it would be if you played on something like Hell on Earth, but honestly, if you run through it with a few friends on hard, you can get it in one game. It's not anything you really have to grind for, which is a little bit disappointing to some people, including myself. I mean, as much as I love getting these new cosmetics and the steampunk outfit, it was way harder to get it in Killing Floor 1. And finding all the collectibles on Steam Land, for example, and just playing the game in general. I don't know, maybe it was because I was the lower, like, perk level in Killing Floor 1, but it took me and my friends some more time to get that unlocked and a little bit more grinding and playing. And I just feel like in Killing Floor 2, what we really need is just more incentive to keep playing the game, and I think having some challenges we have to grind for would be really nice, and kind of wish we had some more stuff like that. Another thing that's kind of interesting is that instead of having Synthetic do a lot of the music for this update, we're getting a lot of new music tracks being added by Rocky Gray. But they have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different songs just for the Airship map, and they also have a new menu song called Monstrosity. I like it a lot, and all of the tracks on the Airship map are just really good, and they fit, and they're pretty hardcore, so I appreciate it. And as you guys know, Ringmaster Lockhart is in this update on the Airship map. He's voiced by David Lodge, and he's definitely the star of the show for this update, honestly. I mean, Mrs. Foster would be, but she's not out yet for me personally. So he definitely is a good, like, announcer for the level. And if you kind of liked how the Patriarch interacted with you during Endless mode, it feels a lot like that. He has a lot of really funny things to say between waves, and I kind of hope we get more maps with unique traders in the future, because it's like kind of annoying hearing the same French trader all the time. So it's really nice hearing him come in as Lockhart and be very funny, have a lot of interesting dialogue, and it's just some good, funny interactions.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the HMS Queen Victoria! I am currently squirreled away in a safe location, yes, but you can use this painting to imagine my handsome visage as I keep you safe from afar. Yes, far afar. Yes, regardless, though, of where I am, we need to get back to my island in the Channel. But there are some problems. The ship is not in great shape, and I'm pretty sure some Zeds are already on board. But with your help, we should nip it all in the bud. Ha ha! Ready, lads and lasses? Then let's carry on!
Another interesting thing that got added to the update is when you use the thank you command, you're actually going to hear audio now from your characters, so that's really neat. They've also adjusted the first-person reload sounds to be louder, which I don't know how I feel about this, because I was reloading my 9mm pistols, and at first I thought it was a bug, but turns out they actually raised the volume of all the reloads, so now my pistol reloads are louder than the gunshots on the 9mm, and it's a little bit distracting. Now, it might be fine on other weapons, but it was a little bit, like, too loud to me. So, I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that, because it might just be different for different people's sound setups, but for me, personally, it sounds way too loud now. It's like the clicks from your gun are louder than the gunshots, and that's kind of weird. And also, this is kind of random, but they've added a new button on the main menu, or the home tab, and it lets you see the news about Killing Floor 2, or all the latest news. I clicked the link, and it doesn't really go anywhere yet. I think it's supposed to redirect to Tripwire's website, but for right now, it's just kind of a dead link. They've also done a ton of game mode adjustments for Endless, so I need to go back and play some Endless after I make this video, because there's like a whole lot of differences in it, and there's also a chance to spawn EDARs into it now, so EDAR enemies are definitely going to have more of a place in Endless than just Survival. So on the Zed front, the Skrakes have raised vulnerability to the microwave gun damage by 10%, so have the Flesh Pounds. The Slashers have their sprint chances raised from 50 to 85% on Suicidal difficulty, and from 70 to 95% on Hell on Earth. A lot of the sprint chances have actually been increased for the Clots, Siths, Alpha Clots, all that stuff. And the Sirens are also being slightly nerfed, actually, but their sprint speed is being increased, so their scream radius is being reduced, but they can get to you faster. Also, an interesting change is that on Hell on Earth difficulty, Hans Volter can have supporting Zeds be spawned in that are quarter pounders and Skrakes. So that's gonna be pretty crazy. Also, in regards to the perks and weapons, the 9mm pistol and the dual 9mm have had their bullet damage raised from 15 to 25, and the fire rate reduced by 14%. Now, the max ammo for them has been reduced from 240 shots to 90, so that's kinda drastic. But then again, like I said before, not only has their bullet damage base been increased, but you can actually upgrade it too, so I'm sure that's gonna be a lot more powerful now in the right hands. You just won't have as much ammo to fall back onto. And I'll leave a link to this all below in the description because there's just a massive ton of fixes to these weapons. You know, bullet damages being increased and reload speeds being adjusted and max ammo being adjusted. So instead of trying to go through all of this, I'm just going to leave a link to it for you guys to read yourselves. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. So if you have a perk you like Gunslinger for example, there's actually like 4 different guns being adjusted or something like that. So it's insane. So if you really want to be up to date on the meta, I would advise reading all of that information yourself, but yeah. Alright, so just a really quick overall summary. The game mode itself, objective, it's cool, but it's nothing like too crazy. The map is great, Lockhart makes it a wonderful map. The map itself looks good and it's fun to play on. The 4 new weapons, or I guess technically the 3 new weapons I've got my hands on, they're all really fun to use, and maybe they're not going to be meta changers or anything crazy like that, but they're definitely fun additions to the game, and in my opinion, I don't care if a weapon is overpowering or going to change the whole game. I just want more options, and I think, you know, adding more and more weapons, even if they're not perfect at the beginning but can be tweaked later, is just always a good thing, and I appreciate more weapons being added all the time. The weapon upgrade system to me so far has been pretty good. I guess I could see where some people are very confused by it, and I totally understand that because I am too, to be honest. I still to this minute don't know exactly what weapons I should upgrade, shouldn't upgrade, all that kind of thing. But at the same time, I appreciate this new change in direction because there's moments where you'll have Dosh and you really don't know what to spend it on, and you do like the weapon you're currently using and you have full ammo, so you really just want to get that increased damage or whatever. So, you know, it's cool because it gives you something else to think about and a new way to kind of experiment with your loadouts. So for right now, I like it, but maybe my mind will change over time and I'll wish it was the way it was before. But honestly, right now it's not making a huge enough difference for me to care either way, but I could see why that might make some people angry. The prestige system is cool. I mean, there's not much to say other than it's interesting. I want to see how they might expand that in the future, or if maybe there's some prestige only weapons or something. That would be an interesting concept to really give you a good reason to prestige. Something just to give that little bit of extra incentive, I guess, would be nice. The Edar enemies are not a letdown, but they're also not, you know, ruining the game or anything. So it's like, I don't hate them, I don't love them yet, but maybe if I play Endless, I'll definitely get to see like their true potential in the game. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much everything I have to say about this update. I know that was a pretty long-ass video I just recorded, but thank you so much for sitting through it. If you're enjoying the update, let me know below, or if you're hating it, let me know as well, maybe why you're hating it, and we can have a nice discussion in the comments about it. So, thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel all the way through, like, you know, almost the middle of 2018. We've been playing Killing Floor 2 together for a long time, and it's been a really fun time. So thank you so much for supporting the channel, for supporting me. I guess I'm going to chill and go ahead and say I have a Patreon account if you feel like you want to support the channel even further, but for right now, if you just want to leave the video a like, that would be more than enough for me, and I do appreciate it. So, I'll see you guys on the Killing Floor. Peace out.